hello and welcome to this video about AI, the technology and tools everybody is playing around with these days. Within the last few weeks there was a shift from chatbots and image generation tools to agents, with OpenClaw being the most hyped one of them. I thought a lot about how to leverage OpenClaw to really save time in our private lives, and I found a use case that could be a match for many people. I spend a lot of time every week with meal planning and creating grocery lists. So why not use OpenClaw to select recipes, add them to an adjustable meal plan, and then automatically generate a grocery list based on that. The only remaining part would be that you still need to go shopping yourself. So let me walk you through the current situation I am facing at home, then you understand the as-is architecture, and then it's also easy to understand how OpenClaw can solve the problem. You can see at the bottom right that I use the Paprika app because it has a very nice feature that is scraping recipe information from various websites. I usually go to chefkoch.de, that is a German website. And you can see that currently there is a media break because I'm browsing the recipes, and then in order to create the meal plan, I still take notes. Yeah, that's a manual way of doing it. I could also do it in the Paprika app because it has a support for manually creating meal plans. But I never really liked the user experience, so I stuck with the manual note. And then I also have a Google Nest speaker in my living room, which I use to dictate the ingredients for the recipes I would add to my meal plan. Plus, I also use it to add items, in everyday life. For example, if I have something I ran out of, let's say beer or toilet paper, I can just say right away, okay, add it, and then it's on the list. And technically, you can see that Google Nest Speaker communicates with Google Keep via Google Assistant, so both live in the cloud, and Google Assistant does the speech-to-text translation for Google Keep, and via a technical bridge, it will then add to a node within Google Keep, and that node is called shopping list. So via that term, the matching between what I dictate and which node to put the items on is done. Let's have a look at the to-be architecture, always assuming that we can make this use case really work with OpenClaw. And you can see at the bottom that the plan is to keep this existing connection from Google Nest Speaker to Google Keep, because it's really useful when you have dirty hands, you're baking, you're doing something, and you want to dictate, hey, I ran out of flour, please put it on the shopping list. Then I really want to keep this feature via the Nest Speaker, but it will remain independent of the rest of the solution. The only integrative element here is the shopping list within Google Keep. And that means that eventually the data of both the Nest Speaker and OpenClaw ends up in this joint shopping list. You can see that on my smartphone I would also like to keep the Paprika app to browse and add recipes, and it's not like OpenClaw was not capable of managing recipes, but the standard way for OpenClaw to communicate with the rest of the world is a text chat. So that can be WhatsApp or Telegram or whatever tool you prefer. But I'm a big fan of having this interactive feature in the Paprika app to browse through my recipes, and I prefer it over having everything, my 100 recipes or so, placed in one big long chat. And of course, this comes with a price. OpenClaw cannot natively speak with the Paprika app backend, so what we need in between here is a so-called skill, a technical bridge between OpenClaw and Paprika, and I already saw that there is something available on Claw Hub, which is the public skill registry for OpenClaw. And I'm not getting paid by Paprika to promote their app, so see it as a placeholder for whatever app you prefer yourself. So when you want to set up a similar project, just make sure there is a skill available on ClawHub to connect your app, or maybe you can develop the skill yourself. I will come to that later in this video series. The blue arrows in the diagram show our main process, which starts also on the smartphone with WhatsApp. I can start an instruction, say, okay, create me a meal plan from my recipes you have derived from Paprika, then create a shopping list from that, and ultimately add it to Google Keep. And you can also see the green arrows, and that is the part where OpenClaw communicates with the LLM. And that is where it becomes tricky because, deriving the recipes from Paprika and then writing to Google Keep in the end, it's both basically just API calls. But the major part is then the processing in between, the derivation of the ingredients from the recipes, and then the correct formatting to put that onto Google Keep. And then remember, we don't just want OpenClaw to do that in a one-time activity. We really want it to learn and then be able to repeat this workflow on a weekly basis when we do our meal planning. Beyond that, even more important, can OpenClaw really deviate from that workflow, right? Because if it can't, we can still use a deterministic workflow tool, which does it step by step and always the same way. But what I would expect from AI is that I can, for example, say, okay, one day next week I have visitors, consider that when calculating the quantities for my shopping list. Or let's say one person is a vegetarian or allergic, and so on and so forth. So let's see what we can get out of OpenClaw. In the next video, we're starting with a setup and the initial configuration of the tool.